afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I have Andrew on camera with me this afternoon. And heading out on Jigger is Brent and Viam. They've headed off to go check Gallagher Shortcut once again for Karula, and I'm on a mission to see if those cheetah that were reported to be walking in a westerly direction this morning have made it to Djuma. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is a live safari. So everything that you see on your screens is happening right here in real life on Djuma and Arathusa game reserves in the Sabi Sands, in the enormous open expanse of wilderness that is the greater Kruger Park area. And what a wonderful afternoon it is. Now, if you were watching the sunrise this morning, you would have seen it was grey and rather gloomy looking. And yet the sun has arrived once again. We're right back up to 30 degrees centigrade, which is 84 degrees Fahrenheit. It's already really, really hot. I thought that cold spell was going to last a little bit longer, but it doesn't seem to have. And on that note, I think it's time to go and explore the shady regions of the drainage lines. So let's get this safari started. Whilst you travel along on the back of our vehicle, if you have any questions that you would like to ask us or any comments that you would like to make, you can do so on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And I hope you were listening closely to all of those birds that were calling whilst we were sitting there a little bit earlier. Definitely heard an orange-breasted bush shrike. There was a southern boo-boo. Boo-boo. There was starlings calling, crested francolins calling, fork-tailed drongos. The birds are rejoicing in that the sun has returned. Whilst we make our way towards the drainage line, just one more update to let you know that we will be accompanied by the dulcet tones of Kirsty and Tara, NFC, so they will be directing the show this afternoon for you. And Alex, as usual, is off battling gremlins and chasing them away to keep our shows problem-free. I want to head into the shade of the Mawati, see if we can spy some sneaky spotted cats who've been playing hide-and-seek with us. Mostly just seek at the moment over the last few days. It's hard to choose, but if I had to pick, I would say this is one of my favorite routes to take whilst out on safari. Gives everybody a little bit of a break from the heat for a start, and then also provides us with so many varied tree species and plant species to see. Plus the added fun of taking Wendy through a drainage line. Continue down this beautiful drainage line. I believe that Brent would like to say hello to you all and good afternoon, and he has a very tall mammal to show you, so let's head across to him for now and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Good afternoon and welcome on the Sunset Safari. My name is Brent Smith and I've got Viam on camera with me today. And as you can see, we are with the journey of giraffe. And it looks to be the same couple of individuals we saw a couple of days ago. And the little guy is hiding around back here as well. And we'll try to get you a view of him shortly. But welcome on the live African Safari. Currently we're on Djuma Private Game Reserve. With 3 giraffe that I can see, but I think there's a few more around. And this is that very sort of Casanova-ish giraffe we saw attempting to mate with the female a couple of days ago. And very similar areas, so they haven't moved too far. And let's have a look what they're up to. At the moment, devouring a Ziziphus. Oh, look who's walking into shot on the right, Vim. And they've got a visitor, and the baby giraffe doesn't like it, but a zebra. So I think we just, oh, there's the baby popping up again. Looks, we're just going to move the vehicle a little bit so we can try see the other giraffe. They move a little bit. So the female's moved off and the youngster's following. The big male is continuing to eat that buffalo thorn or Ziziphus. Oh, he moved on. Now, incredibly sharp hooked thorns on that tree, and you can see the giraffe takes almost no notice. So quite an important tree throughout the year to a lot of the browsing animals, as it's one of our few evergreens. And like most animals here, zebra and leopard included, no giraffes markings are the same. And as we mentioned, I think it was yesterday evening, while we were looking for leopard, we have found a sort of leopard. Their Latin name is Camellia pardus. So a camel leopard, and due to the splotches, obviously where the leopard comes from, and camel because a lot of the early scientists thought they were quite camel-like in appearance. So it's a nice big bull giraffe in his prime. Let's go see if we can catch up with the little one and the female who's moved a little bit further away. Find this way. Best access is to go back to the road and then around and through. Just saw her head popping up. Quite a nice group of zebra behind them as well. And there's the little one. He's hear some arrow-marked babblers making quite a bit of noise behind us. So you can see the female there, baby's just behind. Not to drive straight at animals. We drive slightly away from them, and that doesn't make them feel threatened. How's that, Fiam? A bit further forward. There we go. Hello, little one. Very fluffy horns. Looks like it might pop out into the open right next to us, or not. Stopped with that small buffalo fawn. Nice group of zebra behind them as well. Well, as we move around the bush again, we can see that on the other side of the bush, and grazing on a nice little green shoots popping out. And the other two giraffe, the males moved back around towards the female. And it looks like they're going to move down towards the road, so we're going to go have a look there. So while we try position to get us into a better spot for these giraffe, we're going to cross across to Jamie and see what she's up to.
And look at this surprise that we've got planned for you. Can you see him there? He's so camouflaged against that lichen speckled jackberry bark that you only see him when he moves his head. There he goes. Up a little bit more. I just happened to spot him by pure luck as he popped out of his hole. But how amazing is this little tree agama's camouflage? It's phenomenal. So nice to see the various reptiles out and about. Look at how he disappears in there. That is so cool to see. It's like he was built to live on this tree. It's like his camouflage was designed especially for it. It's even got the little white patches with that dark stripe running down the side. And a slightly disgruntled look. He just looks slightly unimpressed with life. But maybe that's because we've spotted him hiding there. Ferocious little hunters, these things. He's going to be out and about catching insects. And I imagine that for him, being the standard reptilian ectotherm, it must be such a pleasure after a cold, chilly start to the morning when he was obviously feeling a bit lacking in energy to have a little bit more in the way of sunlight. There he goes, up into the tree. I've seen a lot of flies buzzing around his head. I was quite hoping that he might decide to snap and catch one. Look at how he disappears. And I bet you this whole branch or this whole limb will have little networks of hollows that he can duck into at any time if there should ever be any kind of threat. There he goes. Up a little bit further. Let's see if he's going to duck into that hole or if he's going to continue on up the tree. He's now almost, it's difficult to see from your perspective, but he's basically horizontal. And those amazing little feet with their sharp claws have provided the perfect style of grip. Whoop, up he goes. Is he going to go into the hole? thinking about it. Got some serious claws on those feet. Where are you gonna go, buddy? Looking at him now from my perspective, if I hadn't seen him move, I would never ever have known that he was there. That's incredible to see. Just imagine how much safer you must feel if you're a vulnerable reptile from predatory birds and predatory snakes if you basically disappear into whatever environment you're in. Look at that, you'd never know he was there. And he's chosen to make probably one of my favorite trees on this reserve his home. Or her home. I don't think you can tell. I unfortunately don't have my reptiles book with me right now, but I'll definitely be on the lookout for a nice picture of one to show you up close and to see. I don't think you can tell the difference between males and females unless they've got their bright breeding colors on. I wonder if it's a female with eggs hidden somewhere in there. Could well be. Perfect little hidey hole. Taking everything in. Those tiny little movements of his head. The fish eagles are calling as well. Wow, well that was a very interesting spot. Maybe, Andrew, if we can head down a little bit to the left to that hole where he first came out of, just to show the viewers where I think he's been living. And who knows, maybe we'll get to see him fairly regularly. There it is, there's that big one in the middle of the trunk. Perfect little hidey hole for a wandering reptile. I wonder what else lives in there. This is why these big trees, big riverine trees like this jackalberry are so important as part of this ecosystem. They make the perfect little hidey holes. Look how beautiful that tree is. Oh, well that is a nice surprise. It's sometimes so interesting to stop and just watch the little things that are coming and going in this world. There's so much life wherever you look in the world, or at least wherever you look in this area, that it's worth stopping just to double check every tree. I wish I had the time to sit and watch and try and explore every single avenue open to us. But luckily we've got days and days and drives to do so. You can find all the secrets that this place has to offer. Too sure, but I don't think that he spotted us or that he was aware that. I think he spotted us, but I don't think he was aware. Sorry, I got distracted by the hornbills that are shouting. Where is that? Oh, there he is. It's not going to be the clearest view. It's on the edge of the branch there in the sun. But at least we can hear them displaying. They're doing a little bit of a head bob. No, don't stop now. Carry on. As you were. Here we go, the other one's going to start. Bobbing up and down. the red-billed hornbill pair from earlier, and this is what I was hoping they'd do this morning on the sunrise safari. They're not quite as enthusiastic as the yellow-bills. They don't get their wings involved. But they do a little bobbing dance. Well spotted. Here we go. Come on, get your wings up. Not so much. Well spotted, Andrew. I didn't see the second one. I was wondering where that sound was coming from. And that's all part of their bonding ritual between male and female. And as I said, very, very soon she's going to be reliant on him completely for food. He goes. Quite lazy compared to the yellow-billed hornbill display, where the yellow-bills open up their wings and do the very similar bob thing, but with their wings in the air. Seems as though it's not something that's included in the red hornbill courtship manual. But there you go. That was a nice way to just finish up the sighting, talking about smaller things and the birds that are and the lizards that are out here. Really, really interesting to see. And they carried on as per normal with their natural courtship behavior, with us being lucky enough to witness it. And that's one of the most amazing things that you get to experience out here in the Sabi Sands. Now, Trisha, on that note, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari. You were wondering if the little animals, the birds, the various little lizards that we might see regularly on pathways, all of the smaller things, whether they get accustomed to vehicles in the same way that, say, the leopards and the lions and the elephants do. And the answer is it sort of depends on the animal that you're talking about, as well as the position in the reserve that you're in. So in certain areas, you'll have noticed we've spent a lot of time with dwarf mongoose families, and they're perfectly relaxed to come out and be near the car. And in others, as soon as they see us coming, they duck into their burrows. Sorry, I thought I saw a trap. I imagined it. They duck down into their burrows and they hide away. And that's because the ones that are accustomed to the cars, and they do get accustomed to cars, are just the ones that have built into burrows close to a main road, so that there's plenty of traffic to get them used to the idea and the concept of vehicles coming through. Others have not had the same level of exposure. And then in terms of things like certain birds, hornbills habituate very easily. We've got lots and lots of them living around camp, and actually just this afternoon attempting to climb into one of our transport vehicles. And speaking of vehicle traffic, I'm just going to stop here on this junction and let the car come through. Alrighty. And now I'm going to sit for just a moment longer and wait for the dust to settle. So yes, there's certain species that habituate far easier than others. The hornbills, the drongos, what other birds habituate quickly? Barbets, lots of starlings, lots of arrow-marked babblers. All those bird species tend to adapt very quickly to the presence of people. But again, those of them that live close to the lodge. Oh, and squirrels, of course. But it takes a certain amount of time. Something like that lizard probably won't, just because he won't be exposed to as much in the way of traffic. And then the things like the legavans that we see, you have to be very careful about reading their body behavior or their body language, so that you don't scare them away in any way. It's all part of the delicate operation. They're never going to be as habituated as something like the leopards or the lions of the Sabi Sands or the elephants, just because tourists, for the most part, tourists and guides have invested their time in habituating those animals more, because those are the animals that the tourists want to see. Of course, I know that many people are very keen to start seeing snakes out on these live safaris, And there again, it depends on the species of snake that you're going to see. Something like a puff adder will stick around, we'll get to look at for quite a while. But then there are other snakes that tend to be a lot more shy and move away very, very quickly. What else habituates very quickly? Gerbils, there's a lot of them in our kitchen. And Andrew tells me that he has a baby squirrel that popped its head into his room and started alarm calling at him, as if to say, what are you doing here? They do come and go. Monkeys are always one of the first on the list. And garden inyala as well. There's always inyala around a camp garden. It's like they know it's the best place to be to get all the food. Warthogs habituate quickly. Baboons habituate quickly. Interesting thing that hornbills do that none of the other birds do, just while we've been watching those two just do their mating and courtship display, is they attack their reflection like no other bird. Some birds accidentally fly full speed into windows, and that's an accident. That's because of the angle that the light has caught the window at, so that they think there's an open space there. But hornbills catch sight of their reflection, and I'm not sure what it says about the hornbill, but they convince themselves that it is an opposing hornbill to be fought vigorously. So they spend ages tapping at the window, and quite often they can become quite a nuisance. And a lot of places have put patches on their windows just to stop them and teach them that it is a reflection, because otherwise with those powerful beaks they could actually break through a window. I have heard about it happening. But it is something that certainly jerks you very rapidly into the realms of reality if you've been having a nap and all of a sudden there's a hornbill attempting to murder its own reflection by attacking your window. Alrighty, southern easternmost corner of the reserve. Let's hook a left and see what we can find lurking up Cheetah Cutline. Favorite parts of the reserve. Thought I saw something, but I think it was my imagination. Nice big open space. That's what really makes a reserve interesting, is the differences between the thick areas, the thin areas, very dense vegetation, nice open clearings, bits of drainage line, bits of riverine system, dams. They all come with their own unique characteristic and look. Unsuccessful in finding any sign of cat tracks, that Brent has found some to show you. So let's head across to him for now, and I will catch up with you a little bit later. I'm sure it will be very soon.
Welcome back, everyone. Some potentially exciting news. We've been a bit short on the cat front for the last couple of drives, and there's literally been not a track to follow. VM and I are on Arathusa Private Game Reserve, and we just spotted what looks to be a male leopard track in the Marikeni drainage system. So I'm checking this block around where the last track was. So we're going to go check. You're going to come check with me. We're going to see if we can find these tracks. And if we don't, we're going to go back to the last track. And then from there, I'm going to go take a walk. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that leopard's not too far away. So if anyone's new, you'll notice my head quite often ducked off the side of the vehicle, and that's just me looking for tracks. I'm just going to be on the game drive radio for a second to find out if there were any leopards seen in this area this morning. Afternoon stations, is anyone copying me? Good afternoon. Was there any Engwe updates for Safari and Dow this morning? Copy. I've got Nkonzo Wanuna crossing the Marikeni between Buffskull North and the Pump House. We're going to be following up. It's on top of the draw from this morning. Heading north. Not at all, please do. More the merrier. So Cedric from Arathusa is going to come into this area, give us a hand. If we have multiple vehicles looking in the area, it obviously gives us a much better chance of finding that animal. Just head back down towards the drainage system. I would say those tracks went in almost parallel to where we are now, and I can't find anything coming out of the onto the road. So you're going to stick with me for a little bit as we head down towards the drainage line. I'll give you a quick look at that track, and then I might go for a little stroll. Towards the drainage. There's some wonderful thickets all around here, which would be an ideal place for the leopard to rest during the heat of the day. It's still quite hot, so I'm hoping he's still somewhere in these thickets. Double check. You never know, you might have gone that way and suddenly seen some impala, or might have ducked back through here. Doesn't look like it. A nice spot to look at tracks. I'm also checking all the trees just in case that leopard's caught something and put it up in the tree. Just hyena tracks there. So we're going to drop down into the drainage line now, and I'll go show you that track quickly. We just passed there, which might sometimes look a bit strange out here in the wilderness, is a pump house. So there'll be a borehole there that'll pump water, sometimes to water holes or to lodges, And quite often the reason you build a little house around it, obviously to protect it from the wear and tear of the elements, but also to stop the elephants playing with it. So Vim has been bugging me, saying, come on Brent, you've got to find a leopard, come on. So hopefully we're going to be able to. So we're driving down this drainage line just like this, having a look. It's always a good spot, especially when it's hot, to look for leopards. And around the next bend here, as we're going, suddenly, boom, I saw the leopard track. I'm going to try and get you in a position where we can see it. And I know on the radio this morning they told me there was a herd of elephants all around this area. And those leopard tracks are on top of the elephant tracks, so that's a really good sign. So I'm going to quickly, before I head off on a walk, show you the track. So this is what I managed to spot in the soft sand here in the drainage line. So it looks like a male leopard just from the size, and heading directly west. So fingers crossed. I'm going to bid you adieu, and hopefully we'll see you a little bit later, and hopefully we'll have had some luck tracking this leopard. So we're going to cross back to Jamie while I head off into the bush here to see if I can pull a leopard out of the bush by its tail.
Well, whilst Brent tracks his way and follows that mystery leopard on Arathusa, you can continue on the back of my vehicle north along Drakensberg Road, and let's see what mysteries this area holds. Destination in mind at the moment is Buffelshoek Dam. I'm travelling fairly slowly to see what we can see. It's interesting how, in contrast to this morning, where this morning was cloudy and chilly and all of the animals were hiding away, now it's hot and sunny and they're all hiding in the shade somewhere. There's a couple of animals I haven't had a proper sighting of whilst I've been working for WildEarth, but there's one in particular that should be quite common. And Mario, who is 7 years old from Ohio, we were wondering, where are all of the baboons? Where have the baboons gone? Well, I'm not too sure what the answer to that question is, Mario. My guess would be is they've headed to the south towards the Sand River, where there are nice big fruiting trees, nice big jackaberries for them to hide in, and maybe they found that the situation there is just a little bit nicer for them to live in. I know that they come through every now and again, but apparently they've decided that for now, Djuma is not their home. But maybe as it starts to get a little bit further into summer, we start seeing more fruits coming out, they might head across and come and visit us. And I certainly hope that they will. It's been a long time since I've seen a baboon, and they're also really useful animals because they're so clever and they've got such good eyesight, and they're always watching on alert. And you can hear when there's a leopard around because the baboons are barking furiously. There's nothing like the sound of waking up to the bark of a baboon reverberating or echoing all around you. Definitely an animal I'm keeping an eye out for. I definitely hope, Mario, that you'll be watching when we do finally have a baboon sighting. It's got to happen at some point, just like my aardvark sighting, which will happen one day. I still haven't seen one, but it will happen one day. Just a little bit of information for Mario and any of the other new viewers who might not be that familiar with baboons and the way that they live. So they live in these big troops, these big groups that can be up to 30, 40, 50 individuals. So lots and lots of baboons in one group. And they're ruled and looked after by these huge males. It's a social system that's known as oligarchy. So there's a couple of dominant males, not just one. But these big baboons are so big that they could challenge even a leopard, especially a leopard of Karula's size. She probably would think twice before tackling them. I know that we saw her hunt that monkey earlier and catch the monkey earlier in the week. But in terms of baboons, it's unlikely that she would be prepared to tackle one like that. Now, I don't know if you remember watching, or if you were watching, some of the regular viewers, but I had a mystery bird's nest somewhere on this road, and I've committed a fatal error, and I forgot exactly where it is. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled for that. I want to see if whatever bird was nesting in there, we didn't have an answer for. I didn't know what it was. We were trying to work it out based on a process of elimination. I haven't really picked up on anything yet, and I think, oh, was it in this tree? It might have been in this tree. Well, wherever it was is now gone. I think it was this tree, but it looks as though the elephants have been here, and I think they might have undone our bird's good work, which is a pity because I could have sworn it was somewhere in here. The beautiful shining leaves of a buffalo thorn. Very pretty to look at, not so enjoyable to walk into with those horrible spiked thorns and hooked thorns. But interestingly, you can pick these new green leaves, and they taste, to me, not all that interesting, but they are similar to a sort of a spinach. You can eat them raw, you can throw them in your salad. Supposedly they're meant to be quite good for you. But a tree that has more value in terms of cultural value than anything else out here. It's called a buffalo thorn whilst we continue on our way. It's called a buffalo thorn because supposedly the buffalo, when they're hunted by lions, they're going to run and hide with their back end tucked away in the buffalo thorn so that the lions can't get around them, and then they can defend themselves with their horns in the front. That obviously is a bit of a fallacy. It's not something that actually happens, or certainly not something that you see regularly. It has this enormous cultural significance in playing a part in Zulu and other cultures around that area, and Zulu burial rituals. I'm sure many of the regular viewers know about this. And I heard one particular guide that I worked with previously, he's in his 50s, is a Zulu man from KwaZulu-Natal, all the way up here working up in Limpopo, which is mostly Shangaan and sort of Sepedi and Sotho dominated. And he told me the story, shame, it was a very sad story. A couple of his relatives died in a car accident over Christmas. And he went back to Ladysmith in Natal, and he took a branch of the buffalo thorn there, and because it's got that hooked thorn, supposedly it grabs the soul of the deceased relative. And they buy a train ticket or a bus ticket or even a minibus taxi. They'll even buy a ticket for that, just for that branch, because it's hooked onto the soul of their dead loved ones. And they then carry them all the way to the burial site and they lay it down. And it's a way of making sure that that person's soul reaches into whatever kind of afterlife there is. So the one hooked thorn is a way of hooking the soul, and then the straight thorn that sits next to it is a way of sending it off into the afterlife. The way that he described it was really quite beautiful. The people of this country, not only have they discovered all kinds of interesting medicinal uses for their plants, but there's also so much ingrained cultural history here. And every plant and every animal has its meaning and a story behind it. And it's something that I was starting to touch on earlier with snakes when I was talking about them on the sunrise safari. And I mentioned that there's a lot of local fear around snakes, but there's also a lot of local fear around chameleons as well. And it's something that's only now starting to be addressed and eradicated so that chameleons aren't persecuted in any way. Elephant roadblock. I'm not sure if any of the regular viewers remember when I said that we were going to be plagued by knob thorns in the road very soon. Well, there you go. There's a knob thorn in the road. That elephant has pushed it all the way over. It's an incredible show of strength. Actually, before I drive away from it, let's go and look at exactly what that elephant has done. Let's go check the base of it and see if this plant could survive. It won't because it's in a road, so it's going to have to be cut down and removed for firewood. And it does make, knobthorn does make brilliant firewood. Let's actually go and look at how this elephant has done this. Wendy doesn't like being turned all the way to the left. We've been talking so much about reading animal behavior from the tracks that they've left behind. We've had so many elephant sightings. When we go and look at this, just see if you can imagine and picture exactly what it is this elephant did. Of course, I have to get us in here first, which is a bit tricky. A lot of time here. Come on, weeping wattle. Here we go. Can we get it from here, Andrew? Down. Perfect. I think if I go any further forward, you run serious risk of being swept off the back by a weeping wattle. Now just picture this elephant as we've seen them so many times over the last few weeks. We just have a look at this patch of destruction that has occurred here, starting with the tree itself, where it's been pushed over, and you can just picture the elephant pushing with its head until it starts to bend and its trunk, and then putting that huge foot in that patch right there on top of that base of that trunk and pushing downwards, and then tucking into the bits of the bark. There you go, you can see the remnants of stripping away the bark, abandoning the pieces that the elephant didn't really decide were that palatable. That deep red cambium layer that it's after. And they're digging away with his feet to get to the roots. You can barely see any of the root systems now, but you can definitely see where that elephant has been digging. And there you can see where it stuck its tusk into the tree and pulled upwards and stripped away all those layers of bark to try and get in there to that knobthorn. And this tree, funny as it sounds, could possibly, if it weren't pushed over into the road, there's a possibility it could survive. I've seen trees just like this manage to keep going, but I think unfortunately in this particular knobthorn's case it's going to have to be removed, as it is rather spectacularly blocking the road. Now, I'm not saying that they do it intentionally, because of course they don't. And I will tell you that I had an elephant in must once. I drove past him whilst along the road. He pushed over a marula tree next to the road, and he was in must, as a big bull in must, and he gave me that kind of look as if to say, wow, I'm going to cause trouble for you. I went to go and collect some, I can't remember, I think it was some building material for a hide that we were building, and I came back down the same road 10 minutes later. He had flipped an entire marula tree, a huge marula tree, and he just flipped it over into the road. Like he just wanted to spite me. So I'm not saying that they do it on purpose, but sometimes I sort of wonder if they might be having a little bit of a game with us sometimes. Let's try and do this without. You know, it's funny, Andrew, after all that negotiating and navigating to get in, there's one right there. One right there in an open spot. Oh well. We got the point. Okay, around our road-blocked knobthorn and on to Twin Dam, not to Twin Dam, sorry, to Buffelshoek. Hook. This afternoon. For a herd of zebra, because there's lots and lots of zebra tracks on the road. They look to me to be very fresh. Definitely keep your eyes peeled as we make our way. They could be doing the same thing we are, which is heading towards Buffelshoek Dam. The thing that they get to do, however, is to cut the corner. So they get to go straight that way. We have to pick away and go around. Hyena tracks everywhere. They've got a baby with them as well. It's a tiny little hoof print. Let me see if I can get it. Find a nice example of it. I think my shadow is going to go in. Maybe we can we get that little track there? There you go. Tiny little one next to the adults. The little one is on the left of your screen there, and the adults are in the middle. Perfect little ring-shaped tracks. Here's that little one down at the bottom. Oh, so cute. Let's see if we can locate these mystery zebra. They've actually walked up and down this road, so they might still be around the area somewhere. Keep your eyes peeled. Flashes of black and white stripes. Doing one more check of tracks. It's hyenas. They keeping me fooled walking down the road. After the last few days of serious heat, it was nice to have a little bit of a cold patch this morning, and it's actually reduced the heat a little bit. I said it was 30 degrees, which is noticeably, believe it or not, is noticeably colder than it has been. And both Donna and Janine, you say it looks like a beautiful day on Juma, and it absolutely is. I've been in a fantastic mood all day. There's always that sense of expectation out here, especially when the sun clears and the clouds go away. Makes for some stunning scenery and beautiful, interesting light. A hyena. There's something about this hyena. It's Peter Tiny. It keeps catching me by surprise. Maybe our little cubs have been moving further afield. Some nice light on the roads for us means that Paul is absolutely correct. The fact that the rain cleared away, or we didn't have any rain, and the sun is out, definitely makes tracking a great deal easier for us. That, of course, is presuming that you have something to track, which I haven't found just yet, but Brent has. We'll keep fingers crossed there. I'm still closely examining the road. But yes, Paul, it absolutely does make life just that little bit easier. You'd be surprised at how much more difficult it gets to track when you don't have the proper light for it. That there's a strong possibility that Karula has cubs, and we suspected that she might be hiding them in this drainage line somewhere around here. That being said, she hasn't, at least her tracks haven't led back here for quite a long time. It may be that she has, if she does have cubs, she might have moved them somewhere to around the lodge and into her usual spot, north in the drainage lines there. I'm certainly not going to go walking to disturb her in any way in this drainage line. I'm going to have to wait for her to show them to us. But I still haven't seen any sign of her in this area for the last few days. But with Karula, I'm starting to learn that doesn't mean anything. I think she's got secret transport, teleportation devices, or some kind of secret underground network that she uses to make it from one place to another, because she does tend to just disappear somewhere and reappear somewhere completely unexpected. seeing him lying there that I nearly missed him. Try and find a nice spot for you to see him by.
A little bit back.
A little bit back. Oh, there we go. There's an open spot. How's that, Andrew? Cool. Hello, Waterbuck. How are you this afternoon? I guess this must be what all of the animals are doing. Just we happened to find him in the clearing. Nice, impressive male, though. One of the biggest antelope that we get out here in terms of mass. Look at those amazing white stripes on his face. He looks like he's wearing face paint. Like somebody's painted his nose and his eyebrows white. Those impressively curved horns. Those aren't fully grown yet. Yes, I'm talking about you. He's still got a way to go before he reaches the full size. He's not a bad-looking bull by any stretch of the imagination. There's that characteristic white ring on his rump and an ever-present swishing tail to try and get rid of the flies. I've seen a couple of bachelor herds of waterbuck around Buffelshoek, but he seems to be on his own. I thought he was going to sneeze there for a second. Looked like he was thinking about it. Nose is going furiously. Just a twitch every now and again. That's just almost a reflex action in response to flies sitting on him. Just to dislodge them. Especially around the sensitive nostril and the ears. And he is fast asleep. He's completely relaxed with us, which is nice to see. I haven't actually had that many completely relaxed waterbuck sightings before, but he is passed out. He's fast, he's gone straight back to sleep. His eyes are closed. He's having his afternoon nap regardless of whether or not we're here. And you wonder about how vulnerable a waterbuck like this might be if he's completely asleep. But obviously, even in the depths of sleep, they're never unaware of their surroundings. If you watch his ears, every now and again they tilt backwards, apart from getting rid of the flies. They swivel and change direction to make sure that nothing sneaks up on him. And he'll probably only spend about, I would say, about 20 minutes like this. He'll have quite short napping rates. And he was so still and such an odd shape that I nearly drove completely past him. I completely agree with you, Paul. I think he's a very good-looking male. He knows we're talking about him now. Sorry, boy, although you are good-looking, Paul's got another thing right about you, and that is that waterbuck are rather stinky creatures. They smell... It's a sort of a thick, wet dog smell combined with a very musky odor. I don't quite know how else to explain it, but it's a very distinctive waterbuck scent. And it's due to the fact that because they live in water and they've got these thick, shaggy coats, they don't need to be waterlogged and cold all the time. So they secrete an oil that coats their fur, but it creates that smell that lingers around them. And if we were to go up and sniff the area that he's been lying in, we'd know instantly it's waterbuck. I've very often smelt waterbuck herds before I see them. And supposedly there was a rumor that... Oh, bit of a scratch there. Are you awake now, boy? Not really, kind of. There's a rumor that because they smell so funny, the lions and the other predators tend to avoid them. They don't want to eat them because that smell transfers to their meat. That's absolutely not true. They will eat them. In certain areas, such as the reserve I used to work at, they did a very big predator survey and discovered that I think waterbuck made up something in the region of 30% of the lion's kills, which is very, very high. The other one was wildebeest, which was one of the main ones. I think that was 40, and the other 30 was impala. In that particular, or no, that can't be because there would have been a wide variety of other species, but those were the top 3. So there's absolutely no truth to the fallacy that the smell of a waterbuck makes them distasteful to predators. Really, in terms of meat out here, they cannot afford to be all that picky. You can imagine a lion disregarding a waterbuck because it doesn't taste very nice. We saw what those 2 lionesses ate when it came to that buffalo carcass. They are definitely not fussy. And I can only imagine, no matter how smelly a waterbuck might be or how distasteful it might be to a lion, nothing on earth could be worse than the way that buffalo was about 4 days in, sitting in the sun and slowly expanding. And it didn't bother them in the slightest. They were still happy to eat it. So definitely no truth in the story that waterbuck don't get eaten because they taste bad. Oh boy, sorry. Now that I've insulted you terribly by saying that you stink, I'm probably going to leave you, so thank you for being so obliging. I definitely imagined it, but he seemed to give a bit of a sigh there, as if to say, well, thank you very much for that. Okay. Cheers, waterbuck. Hope to see the rest of your group at Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe we'll see you there later. You never know. It's interesting that around here, in terms of their waterbuck behavior, they don't actually spend all that much time in the dams, which is, it's just, I think they prefer to be in something like a river. I've seen them when you go to areas like Kruger, or you go to somewhere where it's got a flowing river system. That's usually where they're spending their time, standing in the middle of those dams around the reeds in the river. But they obviously, despite their name, are not all that interested in being in something like, say, Buffelshoek Dam for the whole day. They quite clearly prefer river systems. Adventures have come to something of a conclusion. It has found some wonderful springtime pretty flowers to show you. So let's head across to him now, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Good afternoon and welcome back, everyone. We're going to just sit here now. We haven't been able to find this leopard, but I'm really convinced it's close by. It went on some really hard ground, so I've tried my best. I think it's going to pop out in this area. There's a few other vehicles in the area also giving us a hand, so I just want to sit and listen for a little bit and see if we can hear any alarm calls. It's still quite warm, so it's a possibility that that leopard hasn't started moving yet. But while we've been sitting here, I'm going to get VM to show you on the edge of the road here. There's all these little green bushes that are growing on the side of the road, and on them is a very pretty white flower. I do have a nice one we can have a closer look at, and I'm going to pop it on the dashboard shortly. So only grows in drainage lines and can grow in very, very thick little stands as well. So there we go, there it is. And it is called a white plumbago. There is a blue plumbago, which is not indigenous, which is quite common as a garden plant in South Africa, and maybe you might even have it in your garden at home as well. but this is the wild one, or the one we get out here in the wild, the white plumbago. It's another common name for it is the tattoo plant. That sounds quite like a strange name. So the sap from a plumbago is highly noxious, and in certain African cultures, if you take the roots, you cut open the roots, and if you tie the roots around a piece of your arm, or also quite often used in sacrificial scarring that is done in quite a lot of tribes in Africa and in other places of the world, they'll make incisions in the face and then take the sap of plumbago and put it in there, and it causes it to blister. So it actually, not so much tattoo, not coloring the skin, but actually sort of burns the skin. Apart from that, it's got quite a lot of fascinating uses. It is amongst most cultures in southern and East Africa used as a natural abortive. So for abortion, with different ways of it being taken orally, obviously cooked in milk and things like that, and also inserted. So it is it's a very important traditional medicinal traditional plant. Apart from that, it's also used to cure hookworms, hookworm in cattle and other domestic livestock, and there's one other thing. Oh yes. So one of the sort of superstitious beliefs, which isn't very true, is that it's believed to cure burns inside your chest cavity that will be caused by bewitching. I think those burns are probably more than likely, if you look to the real reason, probably heartburn and things like that. But traditionally, that would have what it would have been used as. And let me just take my earpiece out there quickly so I can listen. Just hoping to hear any form of alarm calls around us. Unfortunately, nothing yet. But we are in such a beautiful spot here in the Marikini drainage. So while I was walking, I also got you another plant. Unfortunately, it was quite a bit earlier, so it's looking a little bit sad, but still a really, really wonderful plant. Very pretty flower, but you can see the leaves are looking a bit sad now. Let's take that off there. So sticking with the medicinal flowers theme, which is one of my favorite themes out in the bush, we now have a bird's brandy, or a Lantana rugosa. And it is quite strange because this is the only indigenous lantana to southern Africa. But there's a South American lantana that has been introduced and grows rapidly all over, which will kill most things that eat it, including people and cows. Whereas this one won't. This one, called bird's brandy, it's got these wonderful, very dark blue and almost purple fruit that birds absolutely go moggy over, and so do small kids in the rural community. But it is also another very important traditional healing plant, and it's the leaves, if you crush them up, which I'll do just now, have a verbena-like smell. So a weak sort of infusion of these leaves so the leaves will be boiled and whatnot, and that will be used to treat eye irritations by Zulu and Xhosa people. And another thing, it is made for skin irritation, any rash, tick bites, things like that, boiled either in milk or water, and then the leaf applied over the rashes and different things, and it is apparently really, really effective at alleviating those itches and scratches and things like that. And one particular lady went so much to boil a whole stack of the leaves and then drain the water from that, and about 3 liters of it, and pour it into a bath. And she says it's very, very good for your skin. It moisturizes the skin as well as alleviating all those little nicks and irritations. And so that's the Bird's Brandy, and those beautiful little lilac and white flowers. We'll have one last look at before we move along. Oh, there's that grey go-away bird calling. And one last little interesting fact about the Bird's Brandy is that those seeds are actually, because they've got that sort of a verbena-like smell, and the leaves as well. So if you were in rural Africa a couple of decades ago, or probably even a bit further than that, but even still, it is quite nice. So, Vim, what do you think on the smell there? So the fruit actually smells also very, very nice. So basically it was crushed and mixed in with animal fat and used as a perfume. So the ladies used to mix in Bird's Brandy with animal fat and then dab it behind their ears to try attract a suitor. What have you spotted behind us, Vim?
Skeleton.
Vim has spotted a skeleton. It is a retired buffalo skeleton. There's quite a lot of bones spread all around this area where we're waiting, and you can just see what's left of the vertebra there. So I think what our plan is from here is we're going to move on to maybe go have a look at the Arathusa waterhole and see if we can see some hippos, and then possibly move back into this area when it's a little bit cooler, and hopefully that leopard is on the move. So while we're on the case of flowers and what's flowering at the moment, Khada would like to know, have the baboon tails started flowering yet? Well, Khada, they actually started flowering before I went on leave, and I think a lot of them will have actually already finished flowering. So before I went on leave, a lot of them were flowering, and since I've been back, I haven't seen any flowers. There's quite a brief little flowering spat that those baboon tails have, or in Afrikaans, a bouillon's start. I will be keeping my eye out for any other interesting little wild flowers that have medicinal uses or can be eaten. One of my favorites, which I'm very, very sad to say I have not seen in Djuma, and I've looked really hard for it, and a little bit further to the south of us along the Sand River, it grows in great profusion, and that is a plant called, it's not the prettiest plant in the world, it's called Lipia javanica. It's named after a French botanist named Lippi, and the common names for it is either wild mint or bushman's fever tea. And I very seldom get a cold or whatnot, but as soon as I do, if I am near a bushman's fever tea, I'll whack up a big boil of a whole bunch of those leaves, strain them into a teacup, add a little bit of honey, and I'm right as rain in no time. guys, being called on the radio. Standing by. Copy, thanks very much for the help. Said, yeah, I'm going to make my way towards Safari Mighty and then come back a little bit later when it's cooler. Hopefully it starts moving then. So, said also had no luck checking in that area. Both our plans, we're going to go look. Flowers. I think we should definitely go have a look at the Arethusa waterhole, where there's quite a few aquatic flowers. Summer.
Oh dear, well, we do apologize for the breakup in Brent's signal, but your timing was perfect because we've just made our way onto the northern side of Buffelshoek Dam, and this seems to be the place to gather if you're a Duggar boy or a big old male buffalo. We've got a whole load of them lined up in front of us, including one who's enjoying a nice cooling. He was originally lying down, he's now just stood up. And if I tell you why he stood up, you might not even believe me. He's standing in the dam there. Been watching him. He was lying down having a wonderful wallow, and two terrapins swam up behind him. I couldn't see exactly what they did, but I think they tried to climb onto his back, and he decided he wasn't having any of this and disappeared off. He stood up so that they couldn't. It's the first time I've ever seen that happen. It's the same group of Duggar boys that we had this morning. He's the slightly sickly looking guy. His hips are sticking out a little bit. And there's also our strange looking buffalo, who I can't see at the moment, but I did spot earlier. Oh, look who's come to join the party, because he looks like he's just woken up and come down on exactly the same route that we did. There's our waterbuck from earlier, or at least I think it's our waterbuck from earlier. Fairly certain it is. He looks about the right size. And he's also come down to Buffelshoek for a drink. It's the perfect time to be around a waterhole at a time like this. It's when all the action is happening. Interesting. He must have left just after we did, after we left him lying down there. And of course, as always at Buffelshoek, or almost always, Bob is here as well. He's also made an appearance, keeping an eye on us as usual. There you go, big yawn, big yawn. Well done, Bob. That was beautifully timed. That amazing mouth that he had. And whenever a hippo yawns like that, you can't help but look at those enormous ivory tusks that stick out in quite a scary way. Quite often they yawn as a way of threatening behavior. I'm not sure how he feels about buffaloes sharing his dam with him, but he seems to be tolerating them so far. Although I must admit, looking at the group that we've got here, I wouldn't be picking a fight with them. There's a good couple of 100 kilograms per individual. And buffalo are not exactly known for their easygoing tempers, especially the old males like this group we've got here. There's 10 of them in total, 2 of them off to the left, and then the big group off to the, on the right, and then the big group off to the left. And they're doing some interesting stuff. I don't quite know what it's all about. It's almost... Oh, he's going to lie down there. I see. Oh, nice soft sandy patch to rest against. Almost seemed to be affection at times. They were rubbing their heads together, although I think it's more just a method when you can't find a tree of scratching a particularly hard to reach itch, is just to rub against your buddy. There's been the odd clashing of horns as well. Where's our odd looking one gone? I think he's one of the ones facing the back there. Oh, there's a hammerkop. Oh, it's all happening at Buffelshoek Dam. And a hammerkop, quite literally a hammerhead, translated from Afrikaans, because of that strange shape of his head. Supposed to be very, very bad luck in a lot of cultures. And supposedly, if they fly over you, you're going to fall victim to some kind of disaster. And usually it's meant to be that your house catches fire or something equally ridiculous. And because they build those enormous nests that they do in the trees, and they do build the most incredible sized nests, that often play home to, it's the biggest nest of any single bird, I think in the world, definitely in southern Africa, but I think in the world as well. And because it's so large, it often plays host to other animals. Raptors sometimes build their nests on top of it. Snakes will come and go from it. And that sort of led to this local belief that a hammerkop was a shapeshifter. So it could change from, because they'd see a hammerkop fly into the nest and they'd see another bird fly out or a snake crawl out. And therefore, obviously, the natural conclusion, if you're going to call it that, was that the hammerkop could change shape. Here comes our buffalo, boys. I don't know if they're going to go and join the rest of the group. He's going to stop for a moment and have a quick... relieve himself quickly. At least it's not in the dam, I suppose. Definitely a tatty group of Duggar boys. They're all a bit scruffy. He's found something interesting to sniff there. Oh no, he's going to lie down. I wonder what made him move all of 5 meters from where he was before. What went on in his head that that was a better space to lie down in? I love Buffelshoek Dam. It's always got something interesting to look at.
I think this buffalo thinks he's in shade of the tree, but it's just from his friend.
He's found a shady spot that's going to disappear in a moment. Andrew's found a theory for why our buffalo moved 5 meters. He was fooled into thinking that shade that was being provided came from a tree. So let's keep an eye on these two. Let's see what happens when the one moves, once he's finished his 5-minute urination process, which is still going on. Hello! Just saying hello to one of the other vehicles. There goes the hammerkop. Catching little invertebrates that are in the soft mud around the edge of the dam as he wades through. Okay, here's the moment of truth. The shade is gone. Andrew, very well played. Very, very well played. You got that spot on. How was that for an interesting moment? He was using his buddy's shade for the moment and then it moved, so did he. If he makes the same mistake again, I'm going to laugh. But I think that there's some actual shade there to find. Well, I think we owe Andrew some serious congratulations there for figuring out that puzzle, because he was clearly absolutely right. You hear those little whistling bird calls whilst we're sitting here? Belong to the water thickneys. They used to be known as dickorps, they're now known as thickneys, that live around here. These buffalo have definitely been highly entertaining. I wanted to see if this one who walked up to the group of lying down buffalo might continue the behavior that I've seen. Doing a lot of head rubbing against each other. Every now and again there's just a gentle tap of horns together. But they appear to have stopped that for now. And if that one buffalo as he walks seems to be struggling. I can't decide if he's limping or if he just is quite weak and old. He's decided to lie down there. I don't think he's very healthy at all. Looking a little bit thin and a little bit stiff in the joints. There's half a horn there, one horn missing. Quite an individual group of buffalo, this lot. Each individual has some kind of story. Oh, there's a bit of a confrontation up there, which I think might have involved our odd-looking buffalo with the low, straight boss. No. Making some interesting noises. Back to the water's edge. Very interesting creatures, buffalo. They do some strange things. There's our character with the strange boss, the low boss. He's right at the back. He's just come down to join the rest of them. Such a distinct face. Ah, well, he would be uncooperative in that respect, wouldn't he? And we are joined by two more avian visitors in the form of two Egyptian geese who are making their way down towards Buffelshoek as well. I wonder if these two have decided to breed somewhere here. Now, it is their breeding season and they should have chicks stashed away somewhere. But I know that there are some at Arathusa Dam. There is a breeding pair with a whole load of little goslings. And as luck would have it, that is where Brent is right now. So let's head across to where he is, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. As we can't see any of the goslings, but we do have a father Jacana and his offspring. Jacana, one of the more interesting birds when it comes to how their chicks are raised. They are polygamous. So polygamous is the opposite of polygamous. So the males, the females will mate with the males. The male will build the nest, prep everything. The female will then mate with the males, lay the eggs, and leave and go mate with lots of other males. And all parenting falls solely on the male Jacana. And he's doing quite well. He's got 3 little ones with him there. And we did come here looking for water lilies, but unfortunately the dam is very low at the moment, so this aquatic waterweed has clogged it up, so there's no space for the lilies to come through. And there in the background we can see Arathusa Safari Lodge, where some of our viewers have actually been on safari. And then very well hidden in the center of the dam is the resident raft of hippopotami. You can see how thick that waterweed is when we get a bit closer to the hippos. It is so thick, it is camouflaging them very well. And we can see hippos with hair extensions. But other than the hippos and the jacana, all is quiet here at the Arathusa waterhole. There is a grey heron off to the left on the edge. Oh, there we go. Hello, little guy. Having a bit of fun. Ah. And I have spotted Jamie's goslings. If we go up onto the island, here we go. You can see mama goose, some guinea fowl, and those little white ones are the little goslings. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer to those little guys. I'm sure they will be very, very cute, very, very fluffy little balls of down. Before the gremlins crept into our signal, I was about to say, I hope you guys are keeping a list of the wildflowers, because it'll be very interesting to see which ones flower first, which ones continue to flower throughout the wet season. And amazingly, we might even find some flowers that only flower once every 2 or 3 years. There are certain species that sometimes flower once every 10 years. So we'll definitely be doing an in-depth flower season this wet season. So there we go. They're the little goslings. Mom and Dad are both there. Oh no, don't go down the other side of the island. Of course they went down the other side of the island. Remaining just to the left are some guinea fowl, but no little goslings. Trying to see if we can... There's one. Oh, there's some doves on the right, but no goslings. Oh, there we go. On the edge of the water. To the right. There we go. Mom and Dad with family in tow. So even at this age, they'll be incredibly competent swimmers. Now, one of the biggest threats to these little goslings is not something you would expect. It's actually an African fish eagle. They are great fans of launching down and grabbing goslings, and how the goslings avoid them is to swim actually and hide under the water. Looks like they are being very kind and marching them almost towards us. So geese are grazers, so they'll be munching all this lovely green grass that's around. A little drink. It even looks like they're eating some of the aquatic plants. There you go, shaking off that little gosling, giving the aquatic waterweed a good shake about. Oh, and having a drink. There's a little three-banded plover in front. So obviously these goslings share their home with hippos and possibly a crocodile and lots of other things. And Cameron, who's 5 years old, would like to know, would the hippo hurt the goslings? Not normally, Cameron, but sometimes hippo can be quite strange and chase things like goslings or pilo or whatnot. But under most circumstances, no, the hippos wouldn't hurt the baby goslings. Well, this could be quite funny. They don't have that extra bit of wing power to get up the hill. No, we'll go round. Oh, there's a little spotted thickney. Oh, sorry, water thickney running into bottom of frame. And all the goslings have disappeared behind that little ridge. And there's one of the adults. I can see some fish rising in the foreground there. Goslings are coming out. Or a gosling. I mean, how many are there? I wonder. Let's have a look if we can count how many there are. There's number one being marched off. Number two just stuck through that little gap there. Number three is thinking about attempting the steep bank again. Number four also thinks that's a good idea. Oh, there we go. Come on, little guy. And now we have 5 and 6. Oh. 5 and 6. And 7 about to walk into frame. So we've got 7 now. Here's the next attempt. Oh. So apparently there were 7 the first time you saw them, so mom and dad doing a good job, all present and accounted for. Trying to find another way up that onto the top of that little island. Oopsie. Their feet aren't quite designed for climbing up steep things, much better designed for paddling. I said their wings aren't developed yet, so they don't have that extra boost that mom and dad can use, so they're not able to fly yet. And a little 3-banded plover in front of them as well. Oh, blacksmith lapwing arriving as well. And oh, it looks like the gosling's got a little bit of a fright from him. Let's see if they found the correct spot to make their ascent. Or they're going to walk all the way around. No, coming back again. I wonder when mom or dad's gonna step in to help them. There we go, up, 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 up. Oh, there we go. All 7 are going to be reunited shortly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the hippos are starting to get a little bit more active as it gets cooler. Hoping one of them is going to give you a nice big yawn shortly. They were splashing around while we were watching the goslings. Getting ready to go out on their nocturnal meanderings. So that one is actually eating some of that water weed, which is quite unusual. Normally you find hippos don't often eat a lot of aquatic vegetation, but prefer to save it for the evening's graze. Oh, look at that! Boom! Climbing up on mom's back. And it's just playing. Here comes the big boy from the right. A little bit more active than they were earlier. And little guy's playing there. Oh, are they going to explode out of the water? Not quite. Synonymous sound on the waterways of Africa. A hippo expelling air from its nostrils. Or expelling water from its nostrils. You can hear those water thickneys. Well, I think it's time to head back towards where we had those leopard tracks. It's cooler now, and hopefully that animal's going to be on the move. The goslings, the jacanas, and the hippocrocodile. Looks like a bit of another front. Well, that's where the last front came from. Now, is this the front disappearing or arriving? What do you think, Vim?
I think it's round 2.
Do you think it's another one arriving? Well, we'll see later on this evening. This one's a bit higher than the last one, though. See those cirrus clouds up high. On our way back to where we had those leopard tracks, I'm just going to do a little sneak along the southern edge of the Marikini drainage. That is where we have seen the Anderson man. Tim has seen it. I haven't.
And we're back once again on the back of Wendy, and I'm just sitting looking at the glorious view of Buffelshoek Cutline. I just had to stop on my onward search for animals just to have a look at this beautiful, it's not sunset quite yet, but the clouds have rolled back in and they're looking incredibly pretty. I don't think we've quite seen the end of that cold front that came through, because look at this. These very high clouds up there. Beautiful to look at. Look at that. All kinds of different layers of cloud coming through as well. I think we might still wake up with a cloudy, cool morning tomorrow. Although once again, I hope it brings with it the promise of rain. It didn't happen last night. It got trapped on the mountains and just didn't quite reach us on the low veld. But a breathtaking sky nonetheless. But this is the perfect time to go out and spot animals now that it's cool. So let's not dally anymore looking at the beautiful scenery and continue back on our mission. I have one mission that I feel like I have to accomplish tonight. I've tried for a couple of days in a row. Each time I have just missed it. There are 3 Scots owls who live on quarantine clearings. And barring anything unforeseen, like a sudden glimpse of gorilla or something exciting along those lines, which could always happen, it's a live safari, you never know what you're going to see, I'm going to find you guys a Scots owl tonight. I'm going to try. I'm going to do my absolute best to find you a Scots owl. They're absolutely adorable. They live on quarantine clearings in the marula trees. Last night one flew past me in the most taunting of manners. They are there, and the few times I have found them out in that clearing have been just after we've closed the sunset safari. So tonight I'm making it my mission to be on quarantine just as it starts to get dark and they start to call. As with all of the little miniature owls, they are crepuscular, which means they are active during the evenings, through the early evenings and the early mornings. They're going to be around here somewhere, and I'm going to find one. They're absolutely adorable. The smallest owl that we get out here, with these tiny little fake ear tufts, little feathers on the top of their heads. And that is going to be my mission for this evening. They're only about this big. It's the cutest little things. And like their cousins, the barred and the pearl-spotted owlet, they also have that incredible disapproving look that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite things. And those tiny little goslings, which are so adorable. I have been to see them recently. They're very, very cute, incredibly fluffy. It's also amazing to watch how fast they've been growing over the last few weeks since they first emerged, paddling behind their parents.
Welcome back, guys. Sorry, it seems like we are having a little bit of trouble with a few gremlins. We do apologize profusely, but we are back. So VM and I in the Murray drainage.
Oh dear! It seems as though Brent and I have timed our bad signal area visiting quite accidentally at completely the wrong time. Franklin's, what are you shouting about? You're being very noisy. Where are you? Oh, it's an early rocky area in the whole of the Sabi Sands we just went through. I hear them somewhere in there they are. Being very noisy, doing their evening chorus. Put Andrew on a bit of an unfortunate slope here. Oops, sorry Andrew. There they are. They're making a terrible fuss. Perfectly cryptic, often ignored little birds until they raise their voices. Make that frantic screeching sound. And as I've mentioned before, responsible for quite a few frights that I've had whilst on foot. There's nothing like a francolin exploding out of the grass right next to your head to really give you an important lesson as to how effectively your adrenal glands can function. Alright, well, they've gone quiet. I'm going to poke their heads out. There they go. Look how cleverly they are camouflaged and how they disappear. It's that brilliant mottled colouring of their feathers. They just vanish into the surroundings. Which is why they're so good at giving you a fright when you walk, and all of a sudden they leave it to the last minute. They kind of sit and hide in the grass, drop down low until right at the last minute they realize that they're going to have to pop out, and they do so with a great deal of noise and a flurry of wings. And when you're on foot tracking something like a lion, or you know there's buffalo around or something like that, it can be quite a scary moment when they do that to you. Back onto Gugu Road. Karula was last seen heading in this direction, and you never know, she could well be somewhere here. I think Brent had her tracks coming in here 2 days ago. She likes it here. She loves this network of drainage lines around us. Escaping and spending her days. She's obviously specialized quite a bit in terms of the way that she hunts around drainage lines as well. I think maybe the hat. It's time for the hat to go. The sun is officially gone. Still there. Beautiful. What a beautiful evening. It is going to be stunning. Try and find a nice open spot so we can have a proper look at that sky. Imagine them being here. It really is. It almost feels like the elephants are gone. I don't know how to describe it. It's like they've just vanished. I wonder out, and as I said, they sometimes pop out of the grass at your feet, exploding in a sort of flurry of noise and wings. And that also brings us around to Lynn's question. Lynn, you were wondering if francolins can fly. Yes, absolutely they can. They are surprisingly efficient looking, considering the way that their bodies are shaped. They're structured to be on the ground and to get hold of seeds. They spend most of their time cryptically camouflaged in amongst the grass, picking away at things like seeds and maybe little termites that they might find. But they can fly. They're more than capable of flying. And one of my first weeks here, actually, we watched a francolin that was being pursued by a small and speedy bar goshawk come zooming into the house and then straight under the wooden deck that's just outside Inge's house. And I mean, the fact that it managed to outfly a goshawk pays tribute to the fact that they can fly. They're not bad at it at all. That thing did escape. But obviously there's lots and lots of threats out there for a poor little francolin. There's all kinds of birds that want to eat you. There's leopards that want to eat you, and caracal that you want to eat you. Oh, there's one. Let's just stop and have a look at it while we're here. And Lynn, that brings me to the last question that you wanted to ask, and that is, where do they sleep? And the answer is, please don't run away. It'd be very, very kind of you if you didn't. I changed my whole route to come and look at you. It's a spur fowl, but it's the same principle. Let's try and get him just as he disappears in, but this will answer Lynn's question well. Here you go. You mentioned how camouflaged they are. Well done, Andrew. Look at those speckles all over the place. So when it comes time to sleep, finding a nice position like exactly where this spur fowl is, same family as the francolins, under a buffalo thorn tucked away in some nice thick grass, that appears to be the place to hide. Tuck themselves away safely there. But I imagine that nighttime must be a little bit scary for a poor old spur fowl or a francolin. But I think finding a nice safe hiding place in the grass is the way for them to go. Just double checking something. Still with him. And when you are looking at spur fowls when compared to francolins, look for the orange beak and the orange legs and the speckles on the chest. And he's gone. Never mind. Oh, there you go. For Lynn, that was a little bit of a fly, a little bit of a flutter up. I'll back up a little bit so we can see it, but he's up in the tree. And that's also a good place to find a roosting position, which is what I think these guys are looking for at the moment. You got him here good? Well done. Oh, there he is. Finding a nice position, maybe somewhere on that branch is the way to go. If you can't find a nice tuft of grass to hide away in. I would not say that they are built for long distance flying. If we look at him now, squat bodies, quite thick and stocky. He's going to jump. You going to jump down? Are you going to? No? What were you thinking about it? Maybe? What you going to do, spur fowl? Which way are you going to go? Or is this where you're going to spend the night? It almost looks afraid. Like it's afraid of heights. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Almost. What are you planning on doing? Here you go. That's the speckled front I was talking about of a Natal francolin. Oh, sorry, spur fowl. Franklin's the old name. I'm still struggling with that change. Alright, well, we don't have all night to sit and watch you try and jump down. But Lynn, they do fly. He flew up there, but they're not the world's best flyers. It's a short distance kind of a deal. They're not built for soaring in any way like their predators are. That was a well-timed spur foul though, and I'm glad that at least, oh, he fell out of the door. Maybe shut my door properly. It would have been very funny if I'd gone tumbling out though. Luckily I didn't manage that, or unfortunately, depending on your view. But yes, I've completely lost my train of thought.
Franklins like to fly.
Franklins like to fly short distance. They're not big soarers, and they sleep either on the ground or in trees. I'm going to turn around now. Point now also raised by Lynn, since we've been chatting a little bit about these spur fowl and Franklin and their sleeping habits. Lynn, you wanted to know if guinea fowl roost in trees, and actually they're more likely to roost in trees than the slightly smaller spur fowl. Bye, have a good evening, spur fowl. They fly up and they roost. They try and find a tree with thick, dense vegetation. So something like a jackalberry would be perfect. Nice big branches that they can settle on. And I mean, their feet, they're adapted to be ground birds, so their feet are not really perfectly positioned for gripping, but they can do it. And apparently for guinea fowl, the safest place to be is tucked away in a tree. And actually one of my first experiences, or my first kill, I suppose, whilst working for WildEarth, was when we were sitting around the fire, and all of a sudden there was this explosion of noise from the jackalberry over the campfire, and the guinea fowl had decided to roost there, and they'd been hunted by a Barreau's eagle owl. And it was incredible because we went and we shone the torch up, and he caught the guinea fowl, it was dead, but because that tree was so full of vegetation, it was so dense, this poor eagle owl was struggling to get the guinea fowl out. Managed eventually, and I mean, guinea fowl are not small creatures, they're quite substantial birds. Managed to get it out, instantly dropped it, and then finally managed to retrieve it and head back towards its mate and plucked it. And they're brilliantly adapted to hunt guinea fowl at night. I also had one situation, it was also with guinea fowl. I was driving around on one of those perfectly dark, moonless nights. And I stopped somewhere to listen to something, but I stopped under a really dense big tree. And I could just hear sounds, and I couldn't work out what it was. And I was really hoping it was going to be something up in the tree, a leopard or I don't know, anything like that. So I got out with a torch, and I couldn't see anything. That tree was just so dense.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the gremlins that are invading the latter half of this sunset safari. Them and I have moved through that drainage line. We've had no luck, so we're going to cross back to Juma and see what we can find on that side. So we're approaching the boundary now. So I'm just going to jump on the radio quickly and let the guys from Arethusa know I'm crossing back across the Juma, and then get hold of the guys from the north and see if there's any updates while I've been gone. Radio stations crossing back to the north. Stations crossing from the west. Are there any updates for Vuyatela, please? 1 second. Just going to be back with the guys. Also very quiet, Craig. Solo here, share somewhere Sibambili EP side. Sorry about this, guys. Yeah, I affirm I did. Just what I got you, has anyone actually seen or heard anything from any of the Nkahumas? Copy, thanks very much. Oh no, off he goes. It's a Senegal lapwing. Old name was a lesser black-winged plover, but the new name Senegal lapwing. And they actually migrate around looking for short grasses. So just to keep everyone updated that there is very little lion news anywhere at the moment. There were 3 lionesses that were thought to be the Nkahumas seen near the Manyeleti boundary on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the only other update is those 5 Birmingham boys down to the southeast of us on a buffalo kill. I mean, even at night, every night we sit outside and we listen, and we haven't even heard lions since those Birminghams disappeared. Down. VM seems to have a good feeling about going to Treehouse Waterhole, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to slowly make our way towards there and see if VM's gut is correct, and then we might find something interesting in that area. Some cicadas starting, not too many. I think in a couple of weeks, or if we have a little bit more rain, they might become deafening. Here we go, some of the insect life that's around at the moment. Wonderful smells at this time of the day. Starting to get whiffs of the different flowering plants, sort of sweet succulent smells. It's a magical time to be out in the bush after the first rains. Everything's greening up. Hello. Fresh. Well, we're no longer going to Treehouse Waterhole, I tell you that. Now, this is interesting. We've got leopard tracks going in both directions, 2 different sizes, and these look really, really nice, really crisp. So I've got a female track, which looks a bit older. I think this is the same track Jamie had a while ago. But now, this is what's exciting me. We've got a male track here, which is crisp. And there's been quite a bit of wind during the day. So I'm just going to walk around, see if it continues onto Zoe's. And if it does, we're definitely going to be after it. Where has the sneaky leopard gone? Okay. I'm gonna just have to try to figure out where he's gone. He hasn't gone that way. And I do think these are really nice fresh tracks. Here we go. Now we're gonna think like a leopard. Boom. Right here. Now where does he go from here? Sorry, I'm just out of shot. I'll be back in a second. I just want to figure out where this leopard goes. So he's heading, it looks like he heads straight into the bush here, between the 2 roads. I think it's a good bet to check Zoe's first. If not, we'll come back around the other side. They are really giving us the runaround at the moment. And really fortunate that we spotted them just before it got dark. I'm just going to give Jamie a call, see if she's come into this area today. And if she did, what time? So we can try to figure out when the leopard came through. Did you see a track, Phil? Jamie. So keep your eyes peeled. Jamie. Jamie, have you been around the Balanatis this afternoon? We've got male leopard tracks heading north. They go north into the block between Zoe's and Balanati's road. I'm checking Zoe's at the moment. There's also those tracks, the female I think you're following from yesterday, but these look like on top of vehicle tracks from this morning. Phil? So, what I've asked Jamie to do while we're checking along Zoe's here, I've asked her to go check Impala Plains Road. So having 2 of us in this area definitely increases our chances. So hopefully one of us comes right with this leopard. It's also at that twilight hour where the light's a bit funny, so you've got to look extra carefully. You can see I'm going really, really slowly. I'll jump up a little bit, see if I can get some height as well. Sitting up on the door so I can just get that little bit of extra height that I can see into the bush. I did spot something, but it wasn't a leopard. I'm hoping if that leopard's around, this other animal might chase it towards us for us. Where have they gone? They're moving quite quickly, but there's a herd of elephants in the thicket there. They are heading towards where those last tracks sort of disappeared. The ellies are moving straight through the block here. You can't really see them. You're sort of getting dark shapes. But we'll definitely be listening. So I think we'll leave those elephants to move through. We're not going to drive off-road after them, but if they did come across that leopard, we would hear that sort of one. They might try to chase it. Also, by moving like this, we're keeping the engine revs really low, so as quiet as possible. So hopefully we can hear above the engine if there are any alarm calls. This is definitely the most fresh track I've seen since I've been back. Beautiful, crisp track. There was wind during the day, so that would have made those edges soft, so those edges were still nice and sharp. Shape or whatnot, or movement, and that's how we spot a lot of the animals out here. And your eyes are a muscle, so the more you train them, the better you get at spotting. And it's amazing when on safari, guests on their first day, some people say there's a warthog over there, just completely blind. Oh, we can't see a warthog anywhere, we can't see it. By the second or third day, as their eyes get into it, they are able to spot things quite quickly compared to when they first arrived. Fingers crossed for this leopard. Major vote of confidence from Lynn. Thank you very much, Lynn. Lynn says if anyone can find a leopard, it's me. I hope so, Lynn. I don't want to let you guys down. we're checking this side of the block. We're going to cross back across to Jamie, who's checking the other side, and let's see how her tracking is going on the other side.
Now, as Brent continues to track that leopard, I've moved all the way to the northern side of that block. And in case you're wondering how my tracking's going, well, the tracks haven't come out here as far as I can tell. I've been doing quite a thorough job of double checking. Gets a little bit tricky at this time of night. Your eyes start to play tricks on you. So far I've stopped for 3 different leopards in a tree that turned out to be not leopards at all. You get very, very focused on looking for one particular thing. I haven't seen his tracks popping out here. And those tracks are definitely fresh because I drove that road, I think possibly 3 times this morning trying to follow up on Shadow just before we went live. So I have triple and quadruple checked that road. There were no tracks there when I last drove it. This could well mean that this male is somewhere here. And now's the perfect time for him to be out and about and on the move, especially if it's, for example, Tingana moving through. We might start to call around this time. I'm going to actually get us to a nice open area, then we can stop and listen as we look at the last few rays of the setting sun. Let's see if maybe there's some alarm calls or something to give away his position. Or if he starts that rasping, sawing sound that leopards make. This is quite a crucial junction though. Being in the spotlight to help. Spot that's just around the corner. We can have a look and a listen, see if maybe we hear something that might just give him away. Tracks, in particular at this time of night, can be very, very deceptive when you're trying to look for tracks. Let me just loop one more time around this corner, and then we can have a look and see if we can hear anything. Well, when I say have a look and see, I mean listen to anything we might hear. This is where my booster seat comes in really handy, because it means that I can see over the bonnet, which is quite important whilst driving as well as tracking. Sign of him here. I know that Tingana does like that block. I've seen him there a couple of times. I've seen his tracks going in a couple of times. That was where, if any regular viewers are interested, I found the Artful Coal twice. He's in that block. Okay, let's stop here and have a look at the sunset so that we can use our ears. As it starts to get dark, those are the sensors we're going to need to rely upon. Beautiful evening. No sound of a rasping leopard yet, though. Just a lot of crested francolins and spurfowls shouting in the distance. I don't think that's alarm calls, though. It's just their evening chorus as they settle down for the night. And if we're going to find him, we have to get lucky in terms of what's going to tell us where he is. Either he needs to call, we need to get lucky in bumping into him, or something needs to be startled in the bush. I haven't seen his tracks coming out though, which is definitely a positive. I know that I promised you a scops owl. It's going to have to wait. Oh, that's beautiful. It's really stunning. This is where it gets so tricky because you're tracking in the dark. And then things like leopard paw prints and hyena paw prints start to look very similar. Oh, that's definitely hyena. I saw paw prints, they're hyena. Okay, can ignore those. Just need to double check that we're looking in the right direction. Circuit of the block. Now, Brent saw his tracks going north between Zoe's and Balanites, which puts him into this block here on my left. I've yet to see his tracks coming out. And incidentally, this is also where I saw the female tracks going into the other day, which could be very interesting because I never did find out where that leopard went to. I never found her tracks coming out of the block either. I wonder if she didn't have a kill in here. And if it is Shadow, as I suspect it was, maybe there's a possibility that Tingana's going to be heading there to mate with her. She's already been seen to mate with him once recently. That was unsuccessful, or if it was a false estrus, then she would be due for another week spent in his company. I've got all of the light to take advantage of that I can. Alright, so let's try our listening process once again. So hyena up and down. Leopard. So he hasn't come out. He's definitely still in here somewhere. Something drastic. I'm going to get hold of Brent on the Game Drive channel in a moment. I want to just stop and survey survey this clearing, just let him know what the results of our little adventure were. Brent for Jamie. I checked along power lines in Impala Road. I didn't see any tracks coming out that side. Copy that. I'm on Impala Plains now. I'm just going to follow up on something that I think I heard ahead of me. I'll let you know. Be in contact now. What is that over there? Where's it gone? There. There's something there.
Steenbok.
Is it a bookie?
Steenbokkie.
Steenbokkie. Oh, shame. Sorry, Steenbokkie. Didn't mean to blind you. Just gonna let Brett know. I said that I was gonna follow up on something, but it's that poor little Steenbok. Yeah, Brett, it was a Steenbok. I'm gonna get mobile again and go north along Impala Road. Brent says generally the direction was more west than anything else, so it was traveling, he's traveling northwest into this block. And what our plan is for Brent to come and sit here on this clearing. I'm going to move a bit further north and then stand by on the road there. Hopefully between us, one of us will get lucky in terms of what we hear and what we find. Shame, sorry Steenbok, but there's leopards about. Be careful. The lapwings are letting me know that my presence was hugely unwelcome in this area. They're definitely nesting here, which is why I was very careful where I drove off-road first of all, and I didn't go too far either. They were really quite seriously letting me know that I wasn't welcome. What's that up ahead? And another Steenbokkie. Steenbok eyes. Where did you go? Somewhere here. Keep your eyes peeled. That did not look like a Steenbok eye shine. Where did you vanish to? Certain that whatever I just saw was not the eyes of a daytime herbivore. Back really slowly. Just double check. sure I saw something in the road here. It was low to the ground. It was exactly the right height for leopard. And it had the eye shine of a nocturnal creature. Sorry, Andrew. Just checking behind you. So quiet. Nothing there. Where did it go? I know I saw something in the road. Let's carry on. Double check that it isn't ahead of me. First of all, let me unwind my spotlight from the tucked in where it was. To be able to concentrate and just double check this area very, very carefully. I think for now let's head back across to Brent and I'll catch up with you in a few moments.
Welcome back, everyone. VM and I have been sitting listening for about 5 or 6 minutes now, really quietly. We haven't heard anything, so we're going to get on the road again and see if we can find something with the spotlight. Oh, that leopard must be so close. It's so frustrating that we only found those tracks so late and dry. Elephants might have pushed him and maybe now he'll come back onto the road. But the Juma down cam watchers, be sure to keep a sharp eye tonight. Quite possible he might head down in that direction. Sets. Time for the predators to start moving, or the large predators, lions, hyenas, leopards. Nighttime is most definitely their time. Not to say they won't hunt or move during the daylight hours, but they definitely do move more and prefer moving at night. As human beings instinctively head for the safety of home as it gets dark, because when we lived out on the African savannah, to be wandering around at night was highly detrimental to one's survival. cats, where you hiding? As we're getting nearer towards the end of this sunset safari, it seems the leopards have had the last laugh yet again. Oh, is that what I think it is? Is it? No, it's not. I thought I spotted a chameleon. So for the last minute or two that you're with me, I'm just going to stop here. I think there's a good possibility that this leopard's going to come out here eventually in this area somewhere. So definitely keep an eye on the Djuma Dam cam this evening. Maybe it'll pop out there, and hopefully keep a look at which direction it goes to give us a good idea where to go look for it in the morning, if he does arrive. But from VM and myself here on the Jigger, it's been a splendid, if not quiet, sunset safari. We have managed to get through quite a fair bit of wildflowers, and guys, keep a list of those flowers and we can see how many of those will still be flowering at the end of the rainy season, and what other ones that aren't flowering now will be flowering a little bit later. So thanks very much for your questions and for joining us on the sunset safari. So good night and bonne nuit for those French speakers out there.
Welcome back, and no sign of the mysterious sight that I saw in the road. I don't know whether my brain is working so furiously that it's starting to play tricks on me. As I said, I did see 3 leopards in trees that weren't actually there on my way here. So that's a possibility. Or something crossed the road in front of me. It wasn't necessarily a leopard. All I got was the glimpse of eyes. It's one of these exciting things about these live safaris, is you just never know what's going to happen. I certainly didn't expect to find myself here on the western edge of Djuma looking for a leopard at this point. I thought I was going to have found you a Scops owl, but that can wait for tomorrow or the next day or whenever else. Right now there's exciting times. Sorry, I went quiet for a moment. No, I think I might have imagined it. I thought I heard a leopard call. Now my ears are imagining things too.
I also heard something.
Did you hear something?
Maybe I'm also imagining it.
Maybe we're both there at this point. Could also be Brent. He's quite close. No, there's no sign of this leopard. Who it was and who it will be, we'll have to wait for an investigation tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari, and I think that is where we will be starting, is trying to figure it out. The thing about male leopards is that they do cover incredible distances throughout the day. I'm not too sure where he might end up or who he might be. We'll just have to wait and see what happens and what tomorrow brings. I'm going to say a big thank you now to Andrew, not only for his fantastic camera work as always, but also for keeping my train of thought for me, where sometimes it disappeared, like nearly falling out of the car earlier. And a big thank you to you, the viewers, for all of your wonderful questions and comments. Please join us again tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. I'm sure we'll have plenty to tell you at that point. And who knows what might have wandered into Djuma in the middle of the night, including this male leopard somewhere. Keep your eyes on the Djuma Dam camera tonight. You never know. He might head here. And I'm going to leave you for the last 30 seconds with just the wonderful sounds of the African night. Let's listen as the evening draws to a close.
About rabid hyenas? Yeah, I think it'd be fucking scary.